Hey friends, welcome back to Food Prep Guide. Today we are planting black beans. I've had a love-hate relationship with beans in the garden. I have a hard time dedicating so much time and energy and resources like in fertilizing and amendments to something that I have to grow in such large quantities of just to get a small to me harvest. So when I'm gardening, I'm trying to grow a year's worth of food during my growing season to get my family through the year. And beans are absolutely a staple crop for us, but I have just been choosing to buy basically a 5-gallon bucket's worth each year to get us through of the black beans and pinto beans. But beans are actually really prolific. So some of you may have been really surprised when I said that I have to grow so much to get a small amount, because beans are actually really a good ROI as far as how much produce you get from what you input according to the amount of seeds. But it takes so many dried beans to put up about 30 pints of canned beans, which is kind of my target goal. 30 pints per each bean. So 30 pints of pinto and 30 pints of black beans. And it just takes so much. And I have not had the space in my garden to dedicate to the amount of plants that I have to plant to get that sort of yield. I need about 2 gallons of dried beans when all is said and done. So that's what, 8 quarts of dried beans, if not a little bit more, to just give me some wiggle room. So this year, everything has changed. We have changed the layout. We have expanded the garden. We have gone with weed fabric. We have expanded the wood chip area. Everything's just different this year. And I thought, you know what? I've laid out my garden. I have everything growing that I want to grow. Why not go ahead and grow beans this year on a large scale and see what happens? So that's what we're doing. You can see right here, little bits of green. This is the row neighboring the beans, which is all of my herbs that I need for my preservation projects, which is parsley, basil, and dill. And so I have this whole section starting right here on this yellow line and going to this yellow line right here. This whole section of weed fabric is going to be black beans. We have 4 rows of 50 foot each. So we're putting in 200 feet of black beans this year. I'm going to be planting the black turtle beans from Baker Creek. I did not order near enough, which I'm kind of thankful now that I'm looking back on it, because I love a good side-by-side experiment. I love a good A/B testing. So we're going to go ahead and plant 2 or 3 rows of this. Actually, I'm probably only going to get 2 rows out of these seed packets of the black turtle beans that are grown and cultivated specifically for seed saving. And then I'm just going to plant some beans from the grocery store. Black beans are the seeds themselves, so you can absolutely plant beans from the grocery store. I have tried that before with black-eyed peas, but my family doesn't love black-eyed peas. It was just a fun experiment. It worked, but we didn't grow them, in a large enough quantity or anything like that. I just know enough to know that you can plant beans from the grocery store. So we're going to do that. We're going to do like a split test and see in the end which harvest gives us a better, or which type of bean gives us a better harvest. So I'm going to show you specifically how to plant beans in this weed fabric. The good thing about beans is that they grow in poor soil. They don't need heavy fertilizing. They don't need a ton of care. So I have done nothing underneath this tarp. The ground underneath this weed fabric has not been prepped, amended, fertilized whatsoever. We will do all that and take care of that in this video. I'll show you every step that we're doing. The first step is to measure out the spacing, the hole spacings for burning. So I'm going to be planting these. This is a bush variety, not a pole variety. Beans grow in either a bush habit or a vining habit. If it's a vining habit, you want to grow them on a trellis or some sort of structure, a pole, a ladder, a fence line, something like that. But these are bush habit. They don't need to be staked. So I'm going to be planting them about 6 inches apart. Let's see, this says 4 inches apart. I'm going to be a little bit more generous than that and give them 6 inches. So we're going to do all that for this 200 foot section of weed fabric. Let's get started. If you would like help planting a productive garden, scroll down to the description box of this video and click this link for a free garden printable. We calculated quantities for a year's supply of the most common garden vegetables and organized them into a neat chart to help you plan. We'll send it straight to your inbox. If you're new here, we invite you to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of our upcoming tutorials on gardening and food preservation, food storage, and more. Okay, whew, it got hot out here quick, so I need to go get my garden hat. A lot better. So the next step after measuring all the holes at a 6-inch spacing is to burn the holes. I am using this torch cane. I have tried a lot of the burners with the nozzles that were on those handheld canisters, and they did not work for me. Every time I turned them upside down, they would just turn off. We have a whole video on like the do's and don'ts and like things that I learned while I was installing this weed fabric. So if you want to check that out, we'll have that linked in the description box below. But for now, let's just go ahead and burn these holes. Okay, holes are done. You saw how easy that was. I had to stomp out just a few fires. Every now and then there'll be some grass or weeds up under this weed fabric, and the fire will catch onto that and it will start spreading and make my hole way bigger than I intended it to be. So that's why you saw me stomping a few times. So the next step is to dig holes, and this bulb planter makes this so easy because I just step on this plate a few times and it takes out a 6-inch plug for me that I'm then going to come and fill with soil. We have heavy clay here, so it's just not ideal for planting in. And even though beans thrive or do well in poor soil, they still need somewhat loose soil. So I'm not going to plant it in my native clay. I'm just going to go ahead and fill each of these 6-inch deep holes with some soil, and then we'll be ready to plant. I got somewhere around here, I've got my manly man helper coming out here to help me. He's taking his sweet time, but he'll be out here in a minute. I'm going to put him to work and get him to help me dig some holes. Okay, the next step is to fill in all the holes with some good dirt. This is some dirt that I get from a local man. It's a mixture of worm castings, horse manure, let's see, kitchen compost, and some mushroom compost. So this is just like a mixture of all of those. You could even get raised bed mix, because essentially what we've done is created a little container in the ground, and the roots will just, once they get past that potting mix or the raised bed mix, they'll just go into the native soil. So that's not a big deal. So you can really, there's a lot of options here for filling the holes with soil. But it is getting really hot, so we're actually going to break this up into 2 different days. So I'm just going to show you just a few here, because I do want to show you all the whole process. If you have really good native soil, then you don't even have to do this. You don't even have to fill it in. I mean, you can just use your use the soil that you dug out to make the holes. You can just put that right back in. But I have heavy clay, so I don't want to do that. Okay. Next, we're just going to put the beans in. Beans need to be buried about 1/2 inch deep, which to me, I'm just going to stick my finger in down to that first little knuckle line is basically what I'm going to do. That's how I measure, was with my knuckle lines. And just 1 seed per hole. These are Baker Creek seeds, and I've always had a nearly 100% germination rate on any of their seeds, so I'm not going to worry about doing multiple seeds per hole. But you certainly can if you want to, and then you can just come back through and weed them, thin them out later. And that's it, y'all. I'm going to get the water hose and spray these down and basically just water them in after they get seeded, and that's it. I'm going to have to take a break and finish up all these another day, tomorrow probably, we'll see. But I hope that was helpful to y'all. Hope that gave y'all a little what word am I looking for? Sneak peek into how to plant into weed fabric if you haven't used it already, and if you are considering it, maybe this helped you kind of figure out if it's something that you want to do or not. We'll keep you posted on the progress of these beans and different garden tours that will be coming up in May, June, July, and August. Lord willing, we'll be able to do a garden tour once a month for each of those months, and you'll be able to see the progress of these beans. That's all for today. We'll see y'all next time. Bye.